What if the single most powerful thing you could do for your life costs absolutely nothing? No supplements, no equipment, no complicated routine, no doctor visit, no prescription. What if it was something so simple, so natural, so completely available to every single human being on this planet that most people completely overlook it? And what if science, real, serious, peer-reviewed science conducted at some of the most respected universities in the world has now confirmed that this one thing is directly linked to living longer, feeling better, recovering faster, and experiencing a quality of life that most people only dream about? We are talking about something you were born knowing how to do. Something a baby does before it can walk, talk, or understand a single word. Something that in our rush, our stress, our distraction, we have slowly, quietly, almost completely forgotten. We are talking about smiling. Not performed smiling, not forced smiling, not the polite smile you put on for a photograph. Genuine, warm, felt from the inside smiling. And by the time this video is over, you will never think about a smile the same way again. Stay with us, because what science has discovered about the simple act of smiling is one of the most surprising, most hopeful, and most immediately useful things you will hear this year. Part 1. The study that started everything. In 2010, a researcher named Ernest Abel at Wayne State University did something remarkably simple. He took 230 photographs of baseball players taken in 1952, old black and white photographs, and he divided them into 3 groups: players who were not smiling, players with a partial smile, and players with a full, genuine smile, what scientists call a Duchenne smile, the kind that reaches the eyes, the kind you cannot fake. Then he looked up how long each player lived. The results stopped him completely. Players who were not smiling in their photographs lived an average of 72.9 years. Players with a partial smile lived an average of 75 years. And players with a full, genuine Duchenne smile, they lived an average of 79.9 years. 7 years, 7 additional years of life simply predicted by whether or not someone was genuinely smiling in a single photograph taken decades earlier. 7 years. Now think about that for a moment, because that finding, published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal, launched an entire field of research into what smiling actually does to the human body. And what researchers found over the next decade changed everything scientists thought they knew about the connection between our emotions, our expressions, and our physical health. Part 2. What actually happens inside your body when you smile? Here is something most people never learn. Your brain cannot fully distinguish between a smile that happens because you feel happy and a smile that you consciously choose to make. When you smile, regardless of why, your brain receives a signal, and that signal triggers a cascade of biological events that are genuinely remarkable. First, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of pleasure and motivation, the same chemical released when you achieve something, when you hear your favorite song, when you taste something delicious, released simply because your face moved into a smile. Then it releases serotonin, the chemical most closely linked to feelings of calm, contentment, and emotional stability. The same chemical that most antidepressant medications work to increase, released simply because you smiled. And then endorphins, your body's natural pain relievers, the chemicals that reduce physical discomfort, lower anxiety, and create that warm, glowing feeling of well-being, released simply because the muscles around your mouth and eyes moved upward. This is not metaphor. This is not positive thinking. This is measurable, documented, repeatable biochemistry. Your face is not just expressing your emotions, it is creating them. Scientists call this the facial feedback hypothesis, and decades of research have confirmed it consistently. When you move your face into a smile, your brain follows, your body follows. Your entire internal chemistry shifts simply because of what your face did. One researcher described it this way. He said, "The face is not a mirror of the mind. It is a remote control for it." Read that again. Your face is a remote control for your mind. And you are holding that remote control every single moment of every single day. Part 3. The immune system connection nobody talks about. Here is where it gets even more fascinating. Research conducted at the University of Kansas found that smiling, even forced smiling, even smiling that did not feel genuine, measurably reduced heart rate and blood pressure during stressful situations compared to people who maintained neutral expressions. The smiling group recovered from stress faster. Their cardiovascular systems returned to baseline more quickly. Their bodies handled the same stressful situation with measurably less physical damage. But the immune system findings are perhaps the most powerful of all. Chronic stress, the low-level, constant background stress that most adults in the modern world carry every single day, suppresses the immune system. It reduces the production of natural killer cells. It lowers the body's ability to fight infection, to heal wounds, to detect and destroy abnormal cells before they become serious problems. And what reduces chronic stress most effectively? Positive emotion, genuine warmth, laughter, connection, joy, all of which begin with a smile. Studies measuring immune markers in people who reported higher levels of positive emotion, people who smiled more, laughed more, felt genuine warmth more regularly, consistently showed stronger immune function, higher levels of protective antibodies, more active natural killer cells, faster wound healing. Your smile is not just making you feel better in the moment, it is quietly, consistently, invisibly strengthening the system that keeps you alive. Part 4. The social power of a smile. Now let us talk about something equally important, something that affects your life in ways that are harder to measure but impossible to overstate. A genuine smile is the most universally understood signal in all of human communication. Researchers have studied cultures across 6 continents, cultures with completely different languages, customs, social norms, and histories. And in every single one, a genuine smile means the same thing: warmth, safety, trust, welcome. It is the only facial expression that carries identical meaning across every human culture ever studied. And this matters enormously, because your relationships, as the Harvard 85-year happiness study confirmed, are the single greatest predictor of how long and how well you live. And nothing builds relationships faster, more naturally, or more powerfully than a genuine smile. People who smile more are consistently rated as more trustworthy, more competent, more likable, and more approachable. They form deeper friendships. They resolve conflicts more easily. They attract the kind of warm, reciprocal human connection that the Harvard researchers identified as the foundation of a long and happy life. A smile does not just make people feel good in the moment. It builds the social infrastructure of your entire life, one genuine expression at a time. There is an elderly woman, 91 years old, who lives in a small apartment building in Portugal. Every single morning, without exception, she stands at her window and waves and smiles at the people walking past on the street below. She does not know most of them. They do not know her. But over the years, her neighbors began looking up, began smiling back, began stopping to check on her, began bringing her food when she was unwell, began sitting with her in the evenings just to talk. She built an entire community, from a window, with nothing but a smile. When a journalist asked her the secret to her long and happy life, she said something that has stayed with me since I first read it. She said, I decided a long time ago that my face would always tell people, "You are safe here. You are welcome here. I am glad you exist." Your face is telling people something right now, every single day. What is it telling them? Part 5. Why we stop smiling and what it costs us. Here is something important that nobody talks about. Research shows that children smile an average of 400 times per day. Happy adults smile an average of 40 to 50 times per day. And the average adult, the stressed, distracted, rushing, worried average adult, smiles fewer than 20 times per day. We do not stop smiling because life becomes harder. Life has always been hard. Every generation has faced its own version of difficulty, loss, and uncertainty. We stop smiling because we forget. We forget that joy is not something that arrives when conditions are perfect. We forget that warmth is not a reward for solving all your problems. We forget that a smile is not a response to a good life. It is one of the tools for building one. The research is clear on this. People who wait to feel happy before they smile wait a very long time. People who choose to smile and then notice the warmth following behind it discover something that changes the entire texture of their daily experience. Happiness is not the cause of smiling. For most people, for most moments, smiling is the cause of happiness. Not always, not in every circumstance. Grief is real. Pain is real. And nobody is suggesting you perform false cheerfulness in the face of genuine suffering. But in the ordinary moments, the unremarkable Tuesday afternoons, the quiet mornings, the simple interactions with strangers and neighbors and the people you love, there is a choice available to you. A choice that costs nothing, takes no time, requires no equipment, and according to decades of scientific research, adds years to your life and life to your years. Part 6. The people who never forgot. There is something consistent about the people who age most beautifully, the ones who remain warm and connected and genuinely present well into their 80s and 90s. They smile easily. They laugh readily. They find genuine delight in small things, a good cup of tea, a bird outside the window, a child's laugh from somewhere down the street. Not because their lives were easier, not because they avoided pain or loss or difficulty. Every one of them has a story. Every one of them has known grief. But somewhere along the way, they made a decision, conscious or not, to let warmth be their default, to let their face tell the world, "I am still here. I am still glad to be here. And I am glad you are here too." That decision, repeated every single day for decades, built something inside them that no supplement, no medication, no treatment could replicate. It built a life worth living, right up until the very end. So here is what we want to leave you with today. You do not need to wait for a reason to smile. You do not need to solve your problems first. You do not need perfect circumstances or a perfect day or a perfect life. You just need to remember that the simple act of genuine warmth offered freely and often is one of the most powerful investments you will ever make in your own health, your own happiness, and your own longevity. Smile at the person making your coffee. Smile at your reflection in the morning, not out of vanity, but out of kindness to yourself. Smile at the stranger whose eyes meet yours for half a second on the street. These moments cost nothing, and according to the science, they add up to everything. If today's video gave you something to think about, something to feel, please share it with someone who needs a reason to smile today, because that person exists in your life. You know exactly who they are. And if you would like more honest, warm, genuinely useful wisdom every single week, subscribe to Golden Wisdom. We are here for the people who want to live fully, warmly, and wisely at every age.